Tell me your favorite song, I'll put it on repeat. I could wait for you forever, through the storms and any weather. Yeah, you're like New York in the sunshine. I'm a fool, yeah, I got my love blind. And ooh, yeah, got my heart out, and it's covered in gold. Like moonlight over Hollywood, and it's cool, yeah, 'cause you know it's good, oh baby. We'll never get old. Down in Cali, driving around with my baby. Top drops and raindrops, now she got me all faded. My heart got me going all crazy. I'll be walking away, yeah. Down Cali, driving round with my baby. Top drops and raindrops, motion got me all faded. My heart got me going all crazy, and I won't be walking away. Yeah, New York in the sunshine. I'm a fool, yeah, I got love blind. And ooh, yeah, got my heart out, and it's covered in gold. Like moonlight over Hollywood, and it's cool, yeah, 'cause you know it's good, oh baby. We'll never get old. You got it going on, I'll be there in a heartbeat. Tell me your favorite song, I'll put it on repeat. I could wait for you forever, through the storms and any weather. Yeah, you're like New York in the sunshine. I'm a fool, yeah, I got my love blind. And ooh, yeah, got my heart out, and it's covered in gold. Like moonlight over Hollywood, and it's cool, yeah, 'cause you know it's good, oh baby. We'll never get old. Down in Cali, driving around with my baby. Top drops and raindrops, now she got me all faded. My heart got me going all crazy. I'll be walking away, yeah.
I don't know actually. Yeah, I've not watched them.
Well, good evening everyone, hope yous are all doing well on this Friday evening. Something a little bit different, don't want to go into too much detail, but it's Friday all the same. Hope yous are doing well, keeping safe and still loving the game we hate, FPL. That's the FPL lounge doors now open, you're all welcome to pop in and say hello. A few of yous are already here, a few of yous even had questions in half an hour ago. That's how popular this guest is. This is the little FPL show that lets you, the audience, get your questions answered, not only by us three, but also whoever the guest may be. and you can do it live in the chat, as some of you have done already, or even pop into our Discord as we get to know our guest even better. This is just a little relaxed show for the next hour or so. We'll have a little look at the previous game week, may have a little look at the next one, full of blankers for my team. Yeah, and we'll figure it out as we go along. All the links to our socials are right in front of your faces, so you know where to hook up with us. It is Comic Relief Night in the UK this evening. I can't do the show myself, so let's welcome one of Twitter's best comedians, Booner. You alright?
Evening, mate. Yes, I'm very good, thank you. How you doing?
Yes, I am very well, and I'm looking forward to picking the brains of this young man we've got beside us. Will I get him in?
Yeah, let's bring him in.
Let's get him in. Well, folks, as you already know, because it was written in the title, we are honoured to have alongside us this evening a guest that's actually won this game that we love to hate in FPL. Won FPL. We talk lots on this show about nosebleeding if you're inside the top 100, but winning it, I could just stop there, Booner. But you know me, I'm not gonna. 4 plus 4 is 8, minus 7 is 1. Quick maths. Here we have a very intelligent man indeed who attends Oxford Uni, no less, for a postdoctorate in maths and cancer imaging. Very intelligent man indeed, and obviously last year's #1 FPL manager. Wonder if there's any mathematical, if I could speak right, equation to figure out what's happening with our seasons, Booner. Equations too are all about terms on a mission, constants, variables and maths operations. Of expressions, equations are a sequel, both sides are separated but by an equal. And for us, Booner, that equal is us being equally pish at this game. He's also a very proud podcaster and makes up one half of the Research Rock Pod. We look forward to seeing if Joshua uses maths or stats with FPL, and if he can give us lots any tips on this game at all. He'll also be assisting Ola, who will also be joining us a little later on this evening, so looking forward to speaking and catching up with Ola again, so he too can ask for advice on how you win this thing called FPL. With over 13,000 followers on Twitter, we at that FPL Lounge are proud to get to know better last year's 1920 FPL champion, Joshua Bull. Hello!
Hello! Thanks for having me on.
How you doing? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah,
Good.
It's 5 o'clock on a Friday. Got to be good.
Well, this is it. It's right into the weekend, and Booner, I think we just crack straight in, don't we?
Yeah, let's give a quick shout out to those joining us from the chat. So we've got Tor17, we've got Nehal Kulkarni, we have got FPL Escapades, we have got Junior Silva, Nitram, Nima, Yug Patil, Amarch, Rupert Erskine, John Harris, and FPL Hitman, Team James, and the names continue. We've also got Paulie and Nasty Balls joining us too. Thank you so much for joining us. But yeah, like you said, let's crack straight into it. Josh, tell us how it felt winning the game last season.
Yeah, let's just not muck about here, pal. Let's just go straight for the juiciness.
How does it feel? Nah, it's a bit rubbish, really. Wouldn't bother. No, it's I'm as surprised as you would be, I guess. You know, like I wasn't expecting to get anywhere close up there. So yeah, it was pretty.
It was the circumstances as well, Josh. The circumstances were unreal. Never seen anything like it before.
That was crazy. Because like I thought I'd got second most points, right, and was pretty blooming happy with that. I was thinking like, yeah, it would have been good to win it, kind of thing. And it was like 2 or 3 weeks later, and I just checked my phone one morning, got an email saying, "Yeah, you've won," and then, which was weird enough. And they didn't say anything about the details about why either. So obviously, I sort of learnt as much about it as anyone else did, just from like Twitter and stuff over the next couple of days.
Wow!
What was your reaction? What was your reaction to that email?
I to be honest, at first I was just like, oh great, they finally emailed me, because I hadn't heard anything. I was like, oh, I don't know what's happening. And then I didn't really take it in, and it wasn't until like later on that day when they announced it on Twitter, and my phone just sort of exploded. So okay, this is kind of crazy because like I've had a Twitter account for years, but I mean it's basically just full of academics. So like, we're not exactly like hot on bombarding each other with messages and stuff. And then like suddenly now it's just FPL Twitter essentially now. It's crazy.
So they just dropped you an email. No one turned up like in a limousine or anything like that and came out with like a nice like embroidered box or anything like that. It was just an email saying well done.
Well, when I say dropped an email, like it literally came off like they flew over in a helicopter, and just like shot it down. So I basically got broken up by like a phone coming through the window. I was like, well, what's all this? It's kind of crazy. Checked it. And I was like, oh, okay, it's them.
I can only imagine, like what you're saying. Your
paparazzi in attendance.
Yeah, your phone must have been like a fruit machine that morning or evening when that landed. Like you say.
It was kind of crazy, yeah. And then like the press kind of got hold of it, and I started getting messages being like, "Oh, will you do an interview for BBC Radio Dorset or something?" Oh yeah, great, why not?
and then that was it. Now look at where you are now. You're on that FPL lounge, See,
it just gets better and better.
Just gets better and better. So see, obviously you were saying there that you weren't like at some, you knew you were obviously doing well in the season. At what point in the season last year did you go, actually, I'm in an alright shout here if I keep playing the way I'm playing, kind of thing?
Yeah, I think roundabout sort of when the lockdown was, when the break hit, so I guess about a year ago, I think that was the first time I got in the top 10, something around there.
Okay.
Where I'd had just like a quality game week. I think I had loads of Leicester players and they all scored hat tricks and it was brilliant. And just kind of like shot up there. And then I kind of thought there's a good like 10 more game weeks or something to go. Yeah. And I figured I'd just go up there and then kind of drop straight back down again. Or even like we didn't even know if they were going to keep the season going or not. So it was kind of like a bit weird, but then obviously there were a couple of months when there was no football happening.
Yeah,
I was just kind of looking at it, being like, getting used to being up there, if you like. But, oh yeah, I don't mind being in 7th place over lockdown. That's great.
Yeah, no, that, honestly, and as like from us, from Boona and I and Matthew, who unfortunately can't be with us this evening, and obviously for our chat as well, just want to say a massive well done first and foremost. Because it's no mean feat to go and win this game of FPL that we all love, and here you are joining us this evening, and you've done it, and well done to you. And it's not like, I know we spoke about it just before we went live, but it's not like you won it last year and then this year you fell off the face of the earth. You're still doing all right this season as well, given the grand scheme of things, so no, well done to you.
Cheers. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of terrified because obviously I've had an account for years, and last year was the first time I was kind of really trying to play it. And I kind of thought, like, that's probably what you would say if you've been trying hard for like years. Yeah. Just terrible, right? So I kind of thought, if I try again this year and I end up with sort of 4 million, everyone's just going to be like, nah, it's just pure luck.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm kind of knocking on the door of the top 100,000. So.
No, you are doing really well. I suppose Boona, it'd be, Joshua, as if by magic, just kind of led into that first question. But do you want to kick it off with that one? And what we'll do, Joshua, is Boona and I will just ask you a few of the normal questions that we ask all our guests that come on the show. And then we'll obviously dive straight into what Boona's got off the Twitter sphere and what everyone's chatting about in chat. And if that's all right with you, and that's kind of how we'll work our way through it.
Sounds great, yeah.
Nice one.
Brilliant. So, first question, Josh, was, let's start right at the beginning. How did you get into FPL? And would you say last year was the season where you started taking things more seriously? And if so, what was the turning point?
Yeah, so originally, so like I've said this before and other stuff, but like my sister is the real football nut in our family, and she got us all playing fantasy football probably 10 years ago.
Wow.
And it was we were on Sky Fantasy Football at the time. And then at some point she switched over to Fantasy Premier League, as did everyone else in my family. And it took me 2 years to notice, so I was still on Sky.
Okay.
That's how little attention I was paying. And then so I'd sort of make a team at the start of the season, tail off after the first week, forget about it, as a lot of kind of casual players do. What was the turning point really was it was kind of August, September 2018, and I was writing up my PhD thesis. And when you're doing that, you're working, well, if you've left it till the last minute like I have, you're working kind of 24/7.
Scurrying
and Marcus
about.
mate was in the same boat, yeah. But so he was setting up his team one afternoon. I was like, that looks like great procrastination. Let's do that. Like, why not? And yeah, it became a sort of like a good way of procrastinating in the evenings and stuff, because basically we were working, like we'd work until like, I don't know, 7 or 8 or something, go over to the pub over the road to get like food, and then like go back in the office again until you fall asleep, and then rinse and repeat. And there'd be like a match on, and you'd be like, oh great, it's like Burnley versus Newcastle or something, and then like which to me is not historically has not been an exciting match, whereas now I'm kind of hooked because of FPL. I'll watch anything as long as I've got a player in it.
Yeah. No, perfect. So so that was basically in the last kind of couple of years was when you probably got your feet right under the table, and then it obviously, as we all know, really took off last season. Football team wise, I don't know if you're a supporter of a team or not. I apologise for not knowing that. But if you are a supporter of a Premier League team, does that team influence your decisions at all?
Yeah, so I am a supporter of a Premier League team, but unfortunately at the minute they've been misclassified as being League One.
Okay.
Well, let's see. Is this Sunderland?
Tragic accounting error. It's not. They're Ipswich.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, like we're not playing well at the minute. Let's put it that way.
So there's no influencing happening.
No. So in a lot of ways, I think it's been quite good, because it means I'm sort of open to just like picking whichever players I think are best without kind of feeling too biased.
Yeah.
That said, it worked well for me last season, because obviously Norwich were up there. And I kind of said to myself, right, because there was a lot of hype about like Pookie and Cantwell and people at the start, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go through and not have any Norwich players, and if they go on and win the Premier League, I'll just do badly at fantasy football, and nobody will notice or care, because I've never played it before, and who cares? And it kind of worked well for me, because after those first 3 or 4 game weeks, I think basically everyone had at least 1 or 2 Norwich players, and then they just did nothing the rest of the season.
Yes.
Whereas I think I had like Vardy instead of Pookie, which sort of really took off. So.
I think that's the thing, Joshua, and Boona, I know we've spoke about this quite a lot on the show. Twitter can be quite a little bespoke place, so to speak, in a way that a lot of people, and I still hold my hands up, now and again I can still get influenced by the Twitter sphere, and it's really interesting to hear that, obviously, as you know, on Twitter there was all the hype about Pookie and having Cantwell in your midfield, and various players, but you've went, no. These are the players that I think are going to do well because of X, Y, and Z. So they're the ones I'm putting in. I'm not listening to, your Twitter sphere and all the rest of it. Is that a fair assumption on that?
Yeah, to an extent. So I think I was kind of listening to it, but almost at like third hand. So I wasn't really on FPL Twitter at all last season, really. But what I was on was Reddit. And there's a sort of fantasy Premier League subreddit where a lot of the content that's on there kind of makes it there from Twitter, like people posting stuff, across platforms and stuff. But it means there's not particularly like any big name accounts on there where you're like, oh yeah, I'm looking at that particular person's analysis.
Right.
And obviously, like a lot of people on there will, just essentially just like plagiarize people's like work on FPL, or like put a link to someone's tweet or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But it's a lot more like just here's a wall of information. And I was definitely kind of making a lot of decisions based on that, and essentially based on like who have I heard of as being like a really big name player that I suspect is going to keep being a big name player. And then it was filling in the gaps with, okay, who are the differentials going to be? Everyone's talking about this Lundstrom guy, like I'll get him in, like why not? But yeah, slightly to my shame, I didn't actually watch any Premier League matches last season until Christmas.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't have a TV in my flat, so I don't have like Sky or anything.
So what were most of your decisions based off of then?
Well,
I think mostly stats.
I think Joshua's just saying that just in case certain people are listening.
Yeah, I've got a letter from the TV license. Right here.
There's a guy just camped outside with a little.
You think I'm joking? Here it is. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I genuinely I didn't actually watch them because I'm not like I kind of have to be invested in a football match before I can really get into it. I'm not someone that can just sit and watch, Newcastle v Burnley.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I guess half the reason they run fantasy football is to try and get people invested, more invested in those other games. But yeah, so at the start of the season, I was like, I'm just not all that fussed about these things. So I think that there was definitely a lot of luck involved in being on the right horses at the start. But that said, like I did put a lot of thought into who was going in that team, and it was mainly from browsing like stuff like Reddit and kind of seeing the stats that people are putting in there, seeing the names that are being thrown around, other people going, oh yeah, I watched this guy and he looks terrible or looks great.
Yeah.
And kind of almost getting this like wisdom of crowds feel, being like, well, there's 100 people on here saying that Lundstrom looks like a great shout and 3 people saying he doesn't. So, the balance of things, maybe that's the way to go.
It was interesting there, sorry Buna, but it was interesting there, Joshua, when you said about luck. I actually ran a poll on Twitter at the start of the week about luck in FPL and what do you think the percentages are. The one that actually came out on top was 70-30 in favour of luck. What's your views on that? Where would you be on that? Like as a skill versus luck kind of debate goes.
So I think it depends on what you class as being like winning, right? So I think in order to actually win, to come like top, there's a huge amount of luck involved.
Sure.
But I think if you say, getting in the top 10,000, 100,000, I think it becomes much more of a skill-based thing.
Sure.
And you can see there's certain people who consistently finish up in those kind of high ranks.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is to do with just the variance in the game.
Yes.
So you can make good decisions, and there's always going to be more than one good decision. Like there might be multiple great captain options in any given week, and you haven't, if it's Captain Salah or Kane, right?
Yep.
And like, it's not that one of those is a bad choice, but if one of them gets a hat trick and one of them blanks, everyone's going to be like, well, of course you should have Captain Salah this week. Yeah, like it was obvious.
Yeah.
But it's not, right? And you hope that over the course of the season, if you're good at the game, those things will kind of balance out, and sometimes you'll get the hat trick and sometimes you won't.
Yes. And
I think in order to win, you've got to get the hat trick every week, and that's where the luck comes in.
I think that's what Buna and I have definitely seen, and it was Buna that probably pointed me in that that direction last season. When you actually review your season, if you just kept a hold of certain people, or you just captained a certain person, you'd end up far better off than the amount of tinkering that I certainly do week on week. Buna, sorry, you dive in, pal, with what you want to ask the young man that's here.
So I was going to ask Josh. Firstly, actually, I wanted to go straight to the chat because we've definitely got a super fan of yours in here. we've got Tour 17 referring to you as Dr. Bull twice. It says, Dr. Bull, to what extent is FPL distracting your research? Hold that thought. And Dr. Bull, which moment made you happier, winning FPL or getting your PhD?
Oh, that's a good one. They're both good questions.
Is this my boss in disguise?
Yeah.
I genuinely do think that I would be doing better this season if I was procrastinating as much as I possibly was last season. I think it's not a coincidence that the end of last season, everyone was working from home. Productivity was just kind of all over the place, and I think like a lot of my procrastination in that time was like checking out fantasy football ideas and stuff like that. And then this season I was like, I need to make sure that this doesn't become an all-encompassing thing, because particularly in like the off season I was getting all of this like, people asking me to do interviews and stuff, and I was like, actually that it was, I mean, particularly around when I won it, it was a massive distraction from work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so then, coming into this season, I was like, no, got to be like rigorous about it, make sure that I'm getting everything done that I need to be getting done.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, maybe that's taken away from my performance. But having said that, I think all of my stuff last year, like my habit was like check Reddit before I went to bed, and then like, when I woke up, I was like just like addicted to like the Reddit site.
Okay.
And I think between those like 2 windows of time, I'd pretty much see whatever was on there. So it's not like I was spending 24/7 doing FPL or anything.
Right.
In terms of which one made me happier, like I'd love to say it was FPL, but I mean it's got to be the PhD, right?
Yeah.
Like that was FPL was fun, and it was I mean like it's a huge thing, but I spent 4.5 years of my life doing that thing. So.
And those last 5 days of cramming it in got you there in the end. So it's all worked out.
I had to read my thesis again for something the other day. I wanted to show someone an example, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just pull up this thing. And I looked at it and I was like, this is so bad. So bad.
Oh, good stuff.
Could have done with another month polishing it out.
Sorry, Bruno, were you chipping in, pal?
I was just going to ask Lama, do you think tonight, this evening, we are going to witness the passing of the torch? Because I think it's time to pass the torch. Do we think it's going to be passed?
Well, yes, it could well be, sorry, Bruno, but I think it's only fair that we ask Joshua first the question that the key question that every single guest gets.
I'm not sure Josh is ready for this question, Lama.
Well, we'll find out.
Myself.
Joshua, you have to put your mind into this situation, okay?
It's a deep situation, Josh.
It's very unique. It's Ipswich unique. So,
That is unique.
It's the final of the Champions League, and you're there. You're not just there, Joshua. You're actually up front, and it's the final seconds, and you're 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. So you're through on goal, 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. You're just about to lace the ball with your boot when out the corner of your eye, you see your teammate standing there. Now you know, Joshua, if you pass to him, surely he can't miss because he's got an open goal. You're the one that's 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. However, Joshua, it's you that's got the ball at your feet. So what are you doing in that situation? Are you smashing it or are you passing it?
I'll be honest, I think I'm passing it. How bad's that?
Never in doubt, Josh. Never in doubt.
I should be like, oh yeah, let me think about this carefully because I'm just like, yeah. That just makes me sound like I'm like, such a do-gooder. But yeah, I'm passing it.
I think that's. I've said this before. The chat are all aware. I would be passing it too. Buna's a smasher though. He all day long. He's Rose-ed-ing it, Buna, aren't you?
All day.
All day. Yes, get the young man in, shall we?
The torch.
Is the torch going to be passed? This is the thing, Joshua.
I think I've still got a shout.
See, exactly. It's fighting.
How many points?
Fighting talk from Joshua.
Let's bring him in. Hola.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. How are you guys?
We're good. You are now alongside both Buna and I, but not only Buna and I, you're also sitting with Joshua, the guy that won this thing last year. We know that you may have some questions that you might want to pick Joshua's brain about as you enter these kind of final game weeks. So the floor's yours. We'll start diving into the chat in a second, but we thought we'd give you the first kind of few questions if you want, Ola, to get off your chest and ask Joshua and see if he can help you out a bit.
Great.
I'm not sure you need my help.
Yeah, I think I do. It's a pleasure to speak to you.
No, it's great to speak to you too.
Yeah. So, no, I was wondering like what do you put into hits and what's your thoughts around taking hits on different occasions?
So I think I'm not convinced I've got the right strategy with hits. Right? So last season I didn't take any at all in the whole thing.
What?
Okay.
Yeah. But I think so. I decided not to do that quite early on, and probably in those last sort of 6 or 7 game weeks, I lost a lot of ground to other people, and I think a lot of that was because I was intent on never taking a hit, and I think other people weren't, and were much more able to kind of ride the chaos that happened, right? Yeah, so I think I wasn't doing that, but I think hits can work. They can be really nice. And it's just a kind of a matter of risk. Because if you take a hit and it pays off, then it's definitely the right move. But I just didn't like seeing my number of points drop, sort of think. I've got up to, however many it is. Let's not go backwards.
Complete stark contrast.
That's exactly how
this season.
it was for me. I think I was ahead by like 4 points one game week, and I took a -8, and I was like, I didn't really want to do it because I thought I would bounce to second, only if it was just for a day or so. But it was the game week where almost hits everywhere. I think it was like -4 on average in the top 10k or something.
Okay.
But the hits, I think it's like if the players, or if there's a high scoring game week, if you knew that beforehand, and the hits would probably be like they're worth it, because of course you only need 4 or more points than the player they transfer out if it's just for one game week. But then if it's for more than one game week, let's say you're planning on keeping him for 5 game weeks, and you have to make up those 4 points over 5 game weeks, which is a lot easier. But I see where you're going with not taking hits, because you start with 4 more points. It's a lot better. And I've barely taken hits this season either.
Yeah. I think it's a complete spectrum where some people have a really conservative strategy, and it's like, my team is mostly template people. I'm not going to take hits. I'm going to be I'm going to make sure that stuff doesn't count against me, which I think is a lot kind of where I was last season, down that end. And at the other end of the spectrum, it's like, I take -16 every week and try and really swing for the fences. And I think actually both of them work. It can work out on either side. It's just one of those, you can get huge gains, but you can get huge losses as well. Yeah. And it's, riding that variance.
That's music to Boona and I's ears, to be honest, because us two do like to take quite a few hits here and there, Joshua. So, so I'm glad it works both ways.
We're starting to approach that time in the season now.
It definitely does. I've seen, I don't know if it was on Twitter or something, and there was this guy, I think it was like 10th place or something, and he'd taken like almost a hit every game week.
Yes.
So yeah, it works both ways, definitely.
Yeah. Sorry, Boona.
But
no, that's fine. Ola, can you hear me? Just out of interest.
can I ask you one more question to John?
Of course you can.
How much time did you use last year on, how much time did you dedicate to FPL?
Yeah, so much time. I was probably spending, I don't know, probably at least like half an hour before I went to bed and half an hour when I woke up, and then possibly some in the middle as well, just on any random day. Especially towards the end of the season. Like in the last couple of weeks, it was basically all that I thought about. And luckily I was on holiday for the last couple of weeks, so I was like, yeah, this is fine. I can just spend all of my time worrying about, by that point you're looking at everyone around you as well and being like, well, if that person, I reckon they're going to bring in Kane. So, maybe I shouldn't bring him, maybe I should get someone else, and it gets into that level of, the 2 or 3 teams that are around you and that have a chance of kind of winning it as well. And I think I got too much into those sort of mind games towards the end. I should probably have just stuck with playing the game the way I've been playing it all the way through.
It paid off.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was lucky, right? Because obviously, there was someone else who ended up with more points. And I think he was, on the last day of the season, I was second and he was third. So it was going into the last game week. And actually, if I'd just, if I hadn't, he was taking a lot more risks, right, than any of others of us around there. So I think he was lucky that paid off in the end. But equally, I think me, and especially the guy who was ahead of me, who was in first going into the last day of the season, I think we were trying to get into each other's heads far too much and ended up because I think I was convinced that he was going to captain someone, and so I decided not to bring them in. And then he'd also not done it or something, and it was the obvious choice.
Wow.
I can't remember what it was now.
So it's like virtual mind games going on.
It was so mind games, and then there was all the league team news around that sort of time as well.
That's right, yeah.
And it was Salah not starting, and that was a whole element of well, okay, what do I do if that's true? What do I do if that's not true? How much do I believe it or not?
Yeah. No, cool.
You talk about the team news and stuff. I can't reveal who, but I found out some really interesting news this week. I found out who the real FPL Scarface was, and he is on Twitter right now with a new alias, which is pretty interesting.
Oh, and that's why I'm friends with you, Boona.
I gotta admit, I think it's a lot better without the team leaks. I'm glad they moved the deadline.
That was one of the questions. Yeah.
Twitter hurts people, but yeah.
What's your thoughts on the FPL Insider, Josh?
I'm kind of fine with it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I can understand why managers, not FPL managers, but actual football managers are annoyed by it. But I think it's fine. If nothing else, it doesn't come out until after the deadline anyway, right?
True.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
And now he started to anonymise as well, hasn't he?
Yeah. What I was going to say, Boona, I think that you had a question right on the tip of your tongue there, to put towards both Josh and Ola. And then Ola and Josh, are you two okay if we then start diving into the chat? And you two can help the chat out. But Josh, Ola, if there's anything though that you want to obviously ask Joshua by at any point, just obviously pipe up, young man. All right.
Great.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Can I just check as well, Ola? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. So the question I had was, Josh, as you mentioned earlier to us that it was around this time last year that. Not that you necessarily started taking the game more seriously, but you started realizing that, look, you're in with a chance of winning it. So it'd be really good to know as well how you kind of approached the last 8 or 10 game weeks and if there was any tips that you would kind of suggest to Ola with regards to the kind of final run-in. What I'm kind of referring to there as well is, like, were you careful with, like, revealing teams, or did you just not do that altogether? And, like, did you do much analysis of those that were around you?
Jeez, I was about Joshua. I hope you got all the 8 questions in one there.
I think the last one was the main one anyway.
So I'll just remember I'll answer the ones I can remember and go from there. But yeah, I think I was definitely careful about letting other people know what I was doing. And I mean, at the time, I wasn't like there weren't FPL people following me on Twitter or anything, so there wasn't really any pressure to tell anyone who I was or what I was doing. But the last few weeks, people were saying to me, like, oh, do you think I should captain, like, Son or Salah or Kane or whatever? And I was just kind of a bit sketchy with all of them, being like, yeah, there's a lot of good choices. Like, I'm not telling you who it was.
Yeah.
And I think the sort of top 3 or 4 people were all on either Twitter or Reddit, and we were all kind of, like, in touch with each other. I was definitely looking at the guy who was first going into the last game week, was, like, answering people's questions on Reddit and stuff. And, like, I was definitely going through his Reddit account, being like, is he giving anything away? So yeah, it becomes a very different thing once it's down to, I'm not playing against 100,000 people. I'm playing against, 5 people.
Yes.
And it becomes a very different game. But I feel like it shouldn't. And, like, I would definitely say, you've got to where you are, Ola, by being good at what you're doing. What you're doing is working. Try not to try and play your own game.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. No, thank you very much for that. Now, I know Buna has got a good few questions that came in via Twitter, but I'll kick off, Buna, if you want, with Nihal in the chat, and then we'll just work our way down. So Joshua, Ola, the next 10-15 minutes or so, we'll try and nash through as many of the chat questions as we can. But as I say, Ola, if there's anything that comes to mind whilst we've got Joshua here, Joshua has said you can ask him whatever comes to mind, and he's more than happy to try and help you out if he can do. So, anyhow, Nihal is asking, this one I think is directed straight to yourself, Josh. How much pressure is it to be number 1? And what are the expectations of a similar performance in the coming season?
Well, I mean, I'd absolutely love to be like the first person that's won it twice. That'd be amazing. But I think as long as I get something respectable now, I'm not too fussed. So there was a point in the season where I was like 2 million, and I was like, this is going to be a disaster. And I've clawed it back from there, which is great and relieving. I think I'm definitely playing differently this year to how I was last year, because I actually feel like a lot of the pressure's off.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, it doesn't really matter. I'm not all that fussed about, whether I win my mini leagues or not, because I've got the ultimate bragging rights now. So it's kind of like, at the minute, I don't own Fernandez, I don't own Kane going into this week. And it was purely because I was looking at them and having like negative effective ownership every week. I was just like, I know it's the right thing to do from the point of view of like maximizing my points, but I just don't like cheering against my own players. So it's like, you know what, if I sell Fernandez, like, yes, I'll get fewer points, but I'll enjoy the game more.
Okay.
And I feel like I definitely couldn't have made that decision last season. So
yeah, so
I didn't have anything to do with that decision, did I? Getting Bruno out.
No, in fact, I kind of wish I'd done it because we had that bit of a chat about it on Twitter, right? And I didn't do it that week in the end. And I wish I had, because I was going to get him out for Bale. And like,
okay.
Like that was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
You'd have got prime Bale.
I'd have got all the goals, yeah.
Buna, do you want to go on to Twitter the now, or do you want me to just keep diving through the now? It's up to you,
I
pal.
know you crack on, mate. You crack
Cool.
on with the guys that have been pretty interactive today.
No problemo. So here's a simple one for both yourself, Joshua, and yourself, Ola. Junior Silva is just asking the simple question: would you captain Dunk this game week? We'll go Ola first.
Oh yeah, I would not captain Dunk. I tried, of course, captaining me and the double game week, which
so you did, yeah.
kind of a similar captaincy choice. Like that, it could have paid off. He got injured, and of course he could have gotten 12 points, which would have been amazing.
Sure.
I don't think you should go and captain Dunk. I've read on some numbers, and I believe he's not really getting any chances, at least not in the last game weeks or so.
Okay.
And would rather go for a more attacking-minded player because, like, he's most likely to get either 6 or 2 points.
Okay, no,
I believe.
That's fair enough. No, thank you very much,
Question
Ola.
for you, Ola. Are you going from now till the end of the season stop doing team reveals, or are you going to continue?
Oh, I'm gonna continue. I believe at least I'm gonna do my team reveal.
Brilliant.
I do it. I don't do it a half an hour before or a day before. I think I do it like 5-10 minutes, and that's just because I see it's late for some people if they're waiting for my team to be revealed so that they can go and do their transfers after me. But if I do it a day before, then everyone else in the top will see my team. And also, even before Twitter, I did my transfers the last 15 minutes, so that's why it's so late. But I'm gonna reveal my team in half an hour, maybe.
Perfect.
Are you gonna throw any curveballs in there, Ola?
What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is, are you going to put any fake news?
Oh no! I'm not going to put any fake news.
No mind games from Ola then. It's just a straight up. This is what I'm playing.
Sorry, Josh, you were going to say.
I was going to say my one word of warning to Ola. I think if it was last year, and it was me and you up there, and you were doing the team reveals like even 5 minutes before, I would probably have a plan of like, okay, what do I do if he captains this player? What do I do if he brings in this player? And I'd have a few options in my head of what I was going to do. And I wouldn't have decided it based on what you were doing, but I would definitely be like watching your Twitter account, and it might, make me change my captain or something like that. So, I don't know who else is up around you at the minute, but just be aware that, they might be out there. As you say, it might not help at all. But
but I believe probably a few of the people in the top 10 follow me on Twitter or see my team when I put it out. But let's say I don't think they're going to wait. Some might do, of course, wait with their transfers till after I reveal my team. But let's say I pick my captaincy choice, and I believe it's the best captaincy choice. And if that makes them move from, let's say they had planned on captaining the same player, and they move to another player, I believe I've won because I have the better captain, even how it turns out. But of course I believe it's the best not to share the team, but I think it's fun.
Yeah.
It's
no,
fun.
I'm not saying don't do it at all.
No.
But it's less the people that are like second and third that I'd be worried about, and more the ones that are like, 10, 20, 25 points behind, that are thinking like, okay, he's gone for them, I'm going to go for a massively differential captain. Or, okay, actually, this is my shot to go all or nothing. Because essentially, especially in the last couple of weeks, everyone from position 2 down to position 100 is going to try and win it. So, it's people make some crazy decisions and end up captaining some random Southampton defender who gets a hat trick. And it's And as you say, that's generally the wrong decision. I think you're right in saying focus on playing your game and don't worry about what other people are doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they will be looking. That's all.
That's a great point, and I see where we're going. So maybe if it continues and I find myself 10 points clear at the top, then maybe I'll have to stop posting, because I'd rather take the first place. I'd rather win the whole thing than have 300 likes on a tweet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Of course. We've got a really interesting question. I'm interested to hear both of your thoughts on this from FPL at FPL_Giant, and he asks, which FPL YouTubers do each of you watch, and who is your favourite? And we'll go to you first, Josh.
Yeah, I have a guilty confession about the FPL community, which is that I don't think I regularly follow anyone in anything. That's really bad, isn't it?
Well, to be honest, Joshua, I actually thought you were going to say that FPL Lounge, to be totally honest. But it's fine, I can live with it, it's alright.
I definitely missed a trick there, didn't I?
No, that's fair enough, that's fine. Is that just something that you just decided, or is it just there's a quick...
Let's be honest, Josh is a very, very busy man right now.
Exactly.
And has been for some time.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't really know that it existed as a community until I was already sort of up at the top of the leagues, and then I think it's great that it is there, and there's plenty of, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of stuff that I enjoy watching, but it tends to be like somebody will post something on Twitter and I think, oh, that looks like an interesting title or an interesting idea, I'll look at that. But yeah, I'm much more likely to read a Twitter thread of statistics than I am to watch a YouTube video. And that's just me.
No, that's fine.
I think the community is great. Just in general, but especially that FPL Lounge.
Oh, there it is.
I'll snip that bit, Llama, don't worry.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Bruno. We'll just leave a nice pause there, so you can get a clean snip.
To you as well, Ola. Yeah, same question to you as well, if there is one.
If I have to choose a favorite YouTuber, it would to be Andy. Let's Talk FPL, because I think he puts in a lot of work with his YouTube, and it's a great channel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really. Well, I watch some of it, but much like Josh, I like to just read on Twitter, because on Twitter you can have everyone's opinions, and you can make your own opinion of what everyone is writing. So I think Twitter is the best a source of information for FPL, because there's such a big community, and everyone is bringing out their ideas and maybe their stats, and written a big tweet about one simple thing, and I think Twitter's amazing.
Mm-hmm. No, sorry.
I was just going to agree with Ola and say the amount of work that some people put in and the amount of detail is just incredible. And it really is an amazing resource to just see the stuff that people put out there.
Yeah. And there is, there's a lot of people do put a lot of time into, the threads that you're talking about, with the pure stats and all that type of stuff. Goodness knows how long it takes them to kind of pull it all together. But yeah, and as you say, it's just it's an easy read, just to go into one of those threads and kind of work your way through it. We've got quite a few questions that have come in with people's team decisions for this week. Are you guys okay to kind of just hey or nay them, if that's alright? And then that way we can kind of batter through a few. Yug's asking, good evening to you, Yug. Nima, hello, how are you? Amarsh, good evening. Yug's asking, would you captain Aubameyang? I know, Ola, you were saying you wouldn't captain Dunk. Joshua, would you consider captain Aubameyang this week?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, it depends who else is in your team.
This is true.
It's a no for me.
I think that's the thing.
He's a rotation risk, to be honest.
Yeah, he wasn't happy on the bench, was he? So,
and he got the full 90 last night, didn't he?
Exactly. We'll move straight to Nitram. Good evening to you. Hope you're doing well, pal. He's already taken a -4, Josh, to go Son, Cancelo, DCL to Watkins, Bale, and Creswell. Was that a good move, Josh and Ola? Do you think that was all right?
Too late, it doesn't matter.
Well, I suppose. Yeah, it's been done. Ninad's asking, hello to you. Good evening, John. Harris, hope you're doing well, pal, as well. Rafinha captain, Joshua and Ola. There's one that's kind of come out the sideways. Would you captain Rafinha, any of you two chaps?
Not only would I captain Rafinha, I have captained Rafinha.
Oh, now there you go, Ninad. And I know a few people were asking you, Josh, who you were captaining this week. There you have it. There's no wool getting pulled. Rafinha is Josh's captain.
I should say the rest of my team is very bare. So like, yeah, but
nice. I like that.
What were you gonna say, Ola? You're gonna say don't do it?
No, I was gonna say do it because I think it's a great fixture, and the last two games at least between the Fulham and Leeds have been lots of goals, and I think Rafinha is looking great. So it's definitely a good captaincy choice for this week.
Nice one. Thank you very much for that.
I'm relieved to hear you say that.
What's that, Marsh? Oh, sorry. Yeah?
Captaining.
Who am I captaining?
Not you. I don't care about you, Lum. I'm talking to Ola here.
Oh, I see what you were doing. Sorry.
No, you'll have to wait 20 minutes.
Here we go. He's learned.
He's learning.
Good answer.
Well played, Ola. Amarsh is basically saying that he's went and got he's already done it. So you can either laugh or applaud. He's got Aubameyang instead of Son for an additional hit. Do you think getting Aubameyang instead of Son for an additional hit is worth it when he's already on a -4? So just bearing in mind what we've just said, that Aubameyang could be benched as it is. What are we thinking?
I don't know if we go. I would probably rather go Bale than Aubameyang, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because Aubameyang has the rotation risk. He's playing West Ham away, and I think that's a harder fixture than Aston Villa away. So I would rather go Bale actually.
Okay, no, that's interesting. Thank you very much for that. What about you, Josh? Would you add to your already taken -4 or just leave it at that?
I wouldn't. I don't. It's a no from me. I think I'm with Olo as well. I would probably go Bale. I should say I have Aubameyang instead of Bale at the minute, but I think given the choice, I would rather have Bale.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to this before we went live. I've already taken a -4 this week. This was prior to Son being injured. Son's obviously got injured, so I don't know if he's going to play or not. But I'm looking at that. The only difference to me is I'll either have 10 players playing or 9. But I ain't taking another -4 just to put someone else in. So, no, thank you very much for that. Bruno, do you want to hit us with one from Twitter, or do you want me to keep cracking through?
No, you crack on, mate.
No problemo. Nasty Balls is, well, you've already done this, Joshua, so thank you very much for that. He was just asking you to tell us your secrets. But you've kind of said that, and also that you did take no hits. You confirmed that as well, that you didn't take any hits last season, which I still find amazing, but well done to you. John Harris, it's not a question as such, but I think this is very valid. There should be a jacket if you win FPL, like they do in golf for the Masters tournament, and that way the winner from the previous season presents you with that jacket, and then you can wear it for pride, for the whole of the next season. I think that's brilliant. That's a great...
There is a Champions League that has got. I don't think it's got every former winner in it, but it's got. Let's have a look. There's seven previous winners of FPL.
Wow. Okay. Ooh. Need to get myself in there, Bruno.
It's tight.
This is a new name. I've not heard this one. Lalu Tree. Good evening to you, hope you're doing well. What about taking a -4 hit for Tierney and Lingard to replace Stones and Salah? What do you think, Josh? What do you think, Ola? Would you do that? Would you take out Stones and Salah and bring in Tierney and Lingard on a hit?
It obviously depends on what the plans are past this game week.
Yes.
But of course, if it's this game week and you're planning on, I don't know, using the wild card in the next 1 or 2 game weeks, then that could, of course, it could pay off. And I don't know, Lingard, of course, it's been great at West Ham, and he didn't play last game week, so he's probably looking to get some goals this week. But also, they're playing Arsenal, and they're a good defense. Did he say Tierney as well? So Tierney and Lingard.
Yeah.
Facing against each other.
Of course, they're facing each other.
Yeah.
But
I think that's the thing for me, Ola. What's your thoughts, Josh? Would you be doing that? Especially like as Ola's just said there, they're both facing each other for a start off, and I think
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say it, but I think as Ola also said as well, which I think's very valid, is that you're not just buying them in for this game week. Potentially, you need to look ahead, or I certainly would be wanting to look ahead and see what else is down the line for the next few game weeks, because, you know, you could be wanting to take another hit to get rid of them again next week.
This person definitely plays spread betting, doesn't he?
Yeah. But is that...
Yeah, I mean, getting rid of Stones and Salah as well are both. I think they're both really good options. I'd certainly rather have either of them in my team than, if I had to choose between Stones and Salah or Lingard and Tierney.
Sure.
I'd probably go for Stones and Salah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like maybe if I was wildcarding next week, I might think about it. But even then, I probably wouldn't, just because they're facing each other.
Yeah. No, and that's fair enough. Jones Bloke, good evening to you. Joshua, what's been the major change in the way you play the game this season as opposed to last year? I know you kind of touched on it, but you're a bit more... You feel like the weight's been lifted off your shoulders a little bit, Josh, this year.
Yeah, I'm definitely... Well,
on
swings both ways. Yeah. So on the one hand, I'm quite happy, like, doing stuff like selling Bruno Fernandes and being like, well, it's going to count against me, but at least I can cheer for all my players. On the other hand, there's been some moves which I haven't made because I was like, people will laugh at me. Like selling Bruno Fernandes a couple of weeks ago for Bale was what I was going to do. And I was like, no, people will laugh at me if I bring Bale in. I'll get Aubameyang instead. And now everyone's talking about bringing Bale in, So I feel like I've definitely missed that boat. And a couple, like, I'm contractually obliged to have Dunk at some point every season. And I was going to bring him in last week, and I didn't. And then he scored, and I'm like,
Buna reminded me of the fact that I had Dunk in my team after he did that. Thanks for that, Buna.
Hashtag Bruno.
Yeah. Nasty Balls is asking, do you use your chips for double game weeks / blank game weeks only? And I suppose that one's really for both of you. Ola, do you want to try answering that one first for us, mate? So would you normally use your chips on double game weeks or blank game weeks?
Well, this is now probably only that I used my bench boost in the double game week 26, and I think that's because I was planning ahead to try and get this bench boost team with as many double game week players as possible.
Okay.
Of course, I have was probably like the only one in the top 100 with 31 players. I don't know what to say, but I had 31 games with the captain having 4.
Yeah, I've got
the most in the. And I think probably it's the smartest idea, like sometimes, but of course there can be times where it's some weeks you could. It depends, of course, and like the triple captain and bench boost, I like to use in the double game week.
Okay. No, thank you very much for that. And what about yourself, Joshua? Did you last season and possibly going into this season, is that kind of how you've used your chips? Have you used them for double game weeks and blank game weeks?
Yeah, I agree with Ola. I think you want to maximise the returns from your player, and that's going to happen if they've got 180 minutes. If one of those teams is weak, then you're golden. It doesn't matter if the other one's Man City. At least I've got a chance of getting it. I think I'd rather do that than back a player. It's like buying one lottery ticket.
Yeah,
I'd rather buy two.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, get a couple of lucky dips. Buna, see before we go to you and one of the Twitter questions. I can't scroll past Team's absolute nightmare that he's had.
I know.
Oh, I don't know, boys, if you've been scrolling through the chat whilst we've been blethering with each other, but Team's had an absolute nightmare here. At one point, he thought he was having to take a minus 32, only for Nasty Balls to come back and tell him that if he uses his wild card or plays his free hit, he'll be fine and it'll cancel the minus 32. But if it was me, I'd have just left them. I would have just left you sweating their Team for the past 15 minutes, thinking that you've just had to take a minus 32. Also, want to just say hello to a couple of new folk that I've not seen. So, Craig, and good evening to you, and Tony as well. Hope you are doing well. Buna, what's happening in Twitter?
We've got Team actually asking a question, saying he's starting 8 players at the moment for blank game week 29. He had planned on using his free hit, but it seems so useless with such a shit slate of games. What's your thoughts? If you've got 8 players, I'd imagine you guys would both be of the opinion that you wouldn't waste your free hit. Would you agree with that, Josh and Ola?
Yeah.
Be tempted to hold it.
Yeah. 33 seems to be a game week that a lot of people are eyeing up for the use of that free hit. So yeah, I would probably hold in that case, Team, as long as you've not taken a minus 16 plus to get there. Although you did just say that you've taken a minus 32. That is the same guy. That is Team.
Yeah.
So he's probably on a wild card or a free hit now anyway, so there was no point me reading that question out at all. Moving on.
I think free hit's the most powerful chip. It's the one that you got the most upside to.
No, definitely. Ray, why? Good evening to you. Hope you're doing well. A fan of yours, Buna, because he's injecting all over the place. We'll shift over to Polly's question. What advice, and I know you kind of touched on this, Joshua, a little bit earlier, but what advice would you give to someone who's leading their mini-league? Wonder if that's you, Polly, would you personally go defensive, or would you keep playing the same as what you've done all season? Josh, what would you be doing in that situation?
Keep playing the same. If your only goal in FPL is to win that particular mini-league, and there's only one person that can catch you, you can really annoy them by just making your team the same. But it's no fun. Just keep playing it your way, I'd say.
Yeah, and that funnily enough, and we'll bring Ola in on that one. Ola, when we first interviewed you, you said that, you mentioned that, because I said that to you, are you going to look at second, third, fourth place and kind of block whatever move they're doing? Because as you've just said, Josh, you could do that. It would be boring, but technically you kind of could. But I remember, Ola, you were saying, yeah, that's fine, but what about 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th place? You've kind of got to keep your eyes open with everything that's all around you. So what would you be saying with that one, Ola?
I agree with Josh, just in the game, and of course it's no fun if you're just copying someone else's team, because it's a game. You want to have fun.
Exactly.
And I want to have be the one that how is he that good? He brought in this player, and he's you want to just win by as much as you can in the mini league.
Yeah.
And have fun.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, thank you very much for that.
We have got not a special guest. Oh, he is special in his own ways. He's a bit of a casual.
Yeah.
We've got Rupert Erskine from the chat, just jumped into the waiting room, and I know he wanted to ask you guys a question, so I'm just going to quickly bring him in. We won't be going on for too much long. I think we'll look to wrap it up in the next 10 minutes, if that's okay with you both.
Yeah, no worries.
Rupert is coming in now. Rupert, the floor is all yours. How you doing?
Yeah, very well. Very well, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I sort of went for my so I go for like on a Friday. I go for a run, then I go for like a mental health walk. So we're in lockdown. But I was enjoying the show so much. I was listening on my phone that instead of going through by the river where it's poor signal, I went back on myself just so I could listen.
Oh, see? Well, thanking you
to the cause. That is.
Yeah. Well, and you know, so far just listening, it's been great. And obviously, just before I ask my question, thank you to obviously Lama and Boona for bigging up my Twitter account. I'm on 350 followers now, so those Dubai tickets, they're coming along, Boona.
No problem, mate.
Woohoo! Yes. So you could tell lockdown has just made me completely and utterly nuts.
Hasn't it for all of us, mate? Hasn't it for all of us, honestly?
Yeah. So, but look, the end in sight. Obviously, cases are going down, vaccinations are going up, and this time around, fantasy football has just kept me going.
It's driven some people up the wall, mate. Has it kept you going? Because it's driven me up the wall.
Yeah, well, I think and this probably comes on to my question, is that just like obviously I listened a couple of weeks ago to when we had FPL Raptor on about the sports psychology bit.
Yep.
But like I do my team, and then like because obviously I've played FPL for a couple of years now. That you put someone in and then they'll blank and someone else will score, and obviously the Twitter for Gray, whatever I like, it's like I haven't put Vardy in and then he'll score, and you're like, oh come on, and then everyone jumps on. I've always said Vardy was going to score this week. It's like no you didn't. So I do my team, and then I'm like sitting there and I'm like I go through each player and go, right, why have I picked him, Rupert? Well, last 5 weeks he's done this, he's done that. And then I just sit back, and if he blanks, and instead of getting angry, I'm like, well, you back the decision, not the outcome. So like, and that's just a strategy that's kind of kept me going. Yeah, of course, there's still been some times and stuff, but yeah, and you know what? It's just a game at the end of the day. It's just. I'm probably getting a lot of people in the chat going, boo, it's not a game. How dare you get this casual out of here? Be gone. So you obviously I had a question. So obviously
I did wonder when you'd get round to that question, Rupert. No, floor's all yours, pal.
So my question, obviously, this week, it's obviously this is the week and the season where it's just like, a few teams playing. It's not going to be exciting. Obviously, clip that for when it does become exciting. But what is your prediction for the average score this week?
Oh, nice one. I like it. Who do you want to pitch it to first? Do you want to pitch it to last year's number one? Or this year's young contender?
Let's go, obviously, last year's winner and then this year's potential winner.
There you go, Joshua.
So last week was a bit of an omni-shambles, and the average points was 43. I think if we get above that, I'll be impressed. I think it's going to be low.
Yeah.
Nice.
Depends if everyone owns Kane, captain's Kane, and he gets a hat trick. Doesn't matter what anyone else does. So any other player.
That's true. And what about you, Ola? What are you thinking? What do you think the average score might be this week, mate?
I think if we're talking about the average for the whole fantasy, I think around 35, probably. There's going to be so many people who have like 5 players to play, or even 3 or something.
Okay.
So if we're talking that average,
casuals like Rupert will have 2.
Right. So I hope he's listening. My casual friend, right? It's been giving me grief all year. So if you're listening, casual, you know who you are. We obviously each week message each other, and I was like, how's your team looking for the blank game week? And he goes, what, blank game week? It's like, yeah, there's only about 4 games. Well, what do you mean? there's only 4 games. And he goes, oh, crap, I've only got 4 players. I was like, well, that's all right. You've obviously got your free hit and your wild cards. Now I've used both of them. So, he is in the mud. We're going to wave goodbye to him. Give him a Dele Alli good wave.
Well,
so,
I don't know if you've seen it in the chat, boys, but someone did post about 10 minutes ago that now, pinch of salt this, and anyone listening, pinch of salt this, but seemingly Bamford didn't get on the bus. Wouldn't that be interesting?
No, I saw a tweet earlier from Alistair Gold on Twitter, and he said Bamford's fine.
Ah, right, okay. So that's
I saw one from Alistair Gold earlier saying that Son was starting this weekend.
Oh,
yeah.
I love
I
this.
Just thought Patrick Ballard. I'm Rupert from Berkshire. Obviously, Patrick actually went to the same public school as me, and he messaged me. He's obviously got his chauffeur who's taken him to the game.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, well, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
So everyone, I was going to say I've gone Maverick this week because it's a low game week. I've gone Dunk as captain.
Oh, you've got them.
Kane.
Okay.
I've got the minerals. I
was just about to say that. Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking. Look, I'm ranked 280k in the world, so not great, But what's going to happen? It's going to be a last minute goal from Wilson. I moved from 280k down to 500k. I'm fine with it. Let's do it. I mean, I was a victim of Duffy Gate a couple of years ago.
Yes.
I walked.
Why
away
do it to yourself, Rupert? Why do it to yourself? I was also victim to Duffy Gate, but I was also victim to a triple Brighton defensive plus Duffy captain gate. So it was very, very painful.
My favourite thing about that whole episode, and Boona knows this anyway, was that I was listening to Fantasy Football Scout, and there was a guy that actually asked the question, Joe, asking, who's this Duncan Duffy guy? When obviously it was people had Dunk and Duffy in their team, but he asked them outright, I've not got this guy, should I be signing this guy, Duncan Duffy?
I watched a game once, and they kept saying, "Oh, Naismith's got the ball. Oh, yeah, it's on Naismith." At some point, my mum turned around and she went, "What sort of a name is Nay?"
But I've got Kane, so it's a bit of a weird. Well, yeah, and obviously it's that weird conundrum that if Kane does well, then everyone's captain him and stuff. But I've got Son and I've got Bale, and without trolling, Spurs, if Son can even walk, he is playing on Sunday after last night.
Yeah,
Alistair's already confirmed it, mate. It looks like he's likely to start, so that's a bit. Did you not see it, Rupert?
No. I was on my walk. I was one with nature, just taking time out of the. Yeah. I didn't see that, but yeah, it'll be. It's classic Mourinho if he does start, and
I think that's the reason I have left him in my team.
I think Spurs. Well, yeah, and as much as they didn't play well last night against Arsenal, when Son was through on goal, if he scored that, it's a different game.
Yeah.
And Josh, as a mathematician yourself, it's those fine margins.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, I watch a game and I sit there and I've got my stats open, and if someone's blanking, like so Kane blanked against West Ham, I was okay with it because I was like, he's had 5 shots on goal, he's had 2 attempted assists, and another week he's going to score. So I'm okay with the outcome. So that's my strategy. I mean, yeah, I'm 280k and I've
you're fine.
So, Boone, I'll ring you up tomorrow to get me out of the mud, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I'll bring my tractor, mate. But on
So
that
I've
note,
got-
I think we're gonna.
We've
start.
got a
Have you got a
couple-
few more questions, lad?
Yeah, I think if we're alright, we'll just ask this last couple and then that'll
Cool.
be us.
Rupert, cheers for your question,
Thank
bro.
you,
Really
thank you,
appreciate it,
Rupert. Steve C, another. Cheers,
Thank
you
you,
take
bro.
care, pal.
Super.
And another new one for us. So good evening to you, young man. With the season being manic, do you prioritise form or fixtures when you're picking your players, which I think is a really good one because this gets asked quite a bit, so it's good to pick your mind on this one, Joshua, and also yourself, Ola. So Joshua, starting with you, mate, what do you think? Do you prioritise former fixtures at all when you're picking who you're bringing in?
I would say always a bit of both,
Okay.
definitely. But I think if I'm looking long term, I'm looking towards fixtures if they've got a quality history, right? So if it's someone like Salah, where they're in terrible form, but they've got a good run of fixtures, I'm getting them in.
Yeah.
The worse their history is, the more I'm looking at short term and form.
Okay. No,
it on a postcard.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much for that. And we'll kind of end it with yourself on that one. What would you be doing? What advice would you be giving to the chat there? Would it be former fixtures for you, mate, when you're bringing in players?
Well, I definitely agree with Joshua. It's a little bit of both. And when I'm looking long term, if as I did in game week 10, I saw City. They had a great run of fixtures, and I knew they were good defensively, even though they had almost conceded a lot. In a lot of games. I looked at their form and the fixtures ahead, and that's why I transferred them in. So, but of course, it's both always.
No, thank you very much for that. And I think just with Stephen in the chat there, I don't know if you've just joined, Stephen, so good evening to you. Rafinha was a astounding. Yes, he is a good captain. Joshua is captain this game week. So the question and answer for that is yes. I think you'll be all right. Buna, I mean, I'll let you obviously wrap things up, pal. But on behalf of the chat, and obviously back to yourself, Ola. Obviously, wish you all the very best to ending the season. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a grand job, and we'll speak to you again soon. And obviously with yourself, Joshua, what an absolute privilege having you alongside us in the studio. We'll get Buna to wrap things up, but Ola, do you want to just remind everyone where they can find you if you want people to find you? That's the thing, if you're hiding yourself. But if people are wanting to find you, where can they find you, Ola?
You mean like on Twitter?
On Twitter, yeah, on Twitter or wherever. Yeah. I wouldn't give out phone numbers because there's a few dodgy people in this stream.
No, it's at Ola and Peter. So I don't know how to Ola and Peder.
Perfect. No, thank you very much for that. And yourself, before I hand over to Buna again, Joshua, I just want to say thank you very much for joining us. What an absolute privilege having someone that's won the game FPL live beside us. What an absolute honour it's been. But for you, Joshua, again, if you want people to get in contact with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say it was a great honour for me being alongside you guys, which it was. So thanks so much for having me on.
No,
as well.
Thank you.
it's been a laugh. So great. Yeah, I am on Twitter at Joshua Abel. I would say I don't tweet about FPL all the time. There's a lot of maths and other random stuff. So follow me if you want. Don't follow me if you want. Up to you. But you have been warned. Yeah.
No, you're an absolute.
You might get a live tweet of a maths lecture. So,
No, you're an absolute diamond. Thank you very much for that, Buna, mate. Been a privilege. I love doing these shows alongside you and Matt, who couldn't be here. But as I say, brilliant again. But over to you, pal. I'll let you sum things up and.
Yeah, I mean, I very much just echo the sentiments, to be honest. It's been an absolute pleasure, a bit of a fanboy moment being alongside you guys who are, have had and are having an absolute stellar season. So just a massive thank you, Josh and Ola, for joining us today and for, sparing your time. It's really appreciated. I hope to have you guys on at some point again, if not this season, then some point next season. Ola, I'm wishing you all the best. We're all backing you, bro. Just maybe don't tell the world your teams. I think just keep that a little bit of a secret. But other than that, thank you for everyone that's joined us today. We're going to give you the last few minutes back to finalise your team. The deadline is in the next 5 minutes, and Ola is about to do a team reveal in the next 2 minutes. So, All the best, and we will catch you very, very soon. Take care, guys.
Nice one. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Better sounds no one ever heard. I wish I had a better voice to sing some better words. I wish I found some chords in an order that is new. I wish I didn't have to rhyme every time I sang. I was told when I get older all my veins would shrink, but now I'm insecure and I care what people think. Blurry face and light.